and welcome back to Recall the Midwife. We are three super fans and best friends, and each week we watch and discuss an episode of Call the Midwife. This week we are discussing the series 6/7 Christmas special. I'm Becky.
I'm Alex.
I'm Jenn. A reminder that this week's episode deals with death and dying, childhood trauma, domestic violence, birth trauma, and stillbirth. So if those are topics you would prefer to skip this time, we understand and hope you join us for the next one. It's Christmas in Poplar and everyone is celebrating. The Turners enjoy their first Christmas with Teddy. Barbara and Tom are celebrating as newlyweds, and Trixie and Christopher have planned a ski vacation to Switzerland. Things go awry, however, when a huge snowstorm hits and all of London is shut down. Nonada's house gathers its supplies and sets up shop in a local pub, and Sheila comes out of her maternity leave early to help Dr. Turner in the clinic. Dr. Turner treats Percival Tillerson for a leg burn, and a few days into the snowstorm, his body is discovered on a side street. Dr. Turner determines he lost his way and froze to death. When Sister Julienne goes to his home to check on his wife, she finds out Percival was a chronic abuser, and Mabel lost both her children due to his terrible treatment. Sister Julienne finds Mabel's daughter, and despite a painful history, the two women are able to reconcile. Meanwhile, Valerie meets expectant mother Linda Odenshaw and finds out Selwyn, her partner, is not the baby's father. Valerie helps Linda deliver, but at first she thinks the baby is stillborn. Selwyn gives the baby a hot water bottle, and as Valerie is carrying him back to Nonada's, she hears a cry. The baby is alive and well, and Linda gives him Selwyn's middle name, John. Lastly, Tom is faced with a big decision, and he and Barbara make the choice to leave Poplar for 6 months, and they catch the train just as the children are performing the annual Christmas show in the community center. I hope that synopsis did its work, girls, because my gosh, this episode was jam-packed.
I'm not going to say I'm disappointed by this, because I really did. There were great things about it.
This is one of Becky's favorites. She's been talking about it for weeks.
Yeah, but do you not think it had a lot to live up to? The finale of the series before was Tom and Barbara's wedding. I feel like they missed a trick not having a big, lovely Christmas wedding for the Christmas episode.
Well, I think, and when we went to that talk that Heidi Thomas did, she said that because they have a Christmas special, each year it has to kind of track major events in that year. And the 1962 big freeze, I don't think they could have done anything but.
Fair enough. No, fair enough, because I did check up on the big freeze as well, actually, and it was factually correct. As we know, Heidi Thomas is so fastidious about. So, and also look at me getting fastidious in this early.
She is nothing if not a true historian, along with being an amazing writer and everything else.
And Jenny Agatha actually published an article in the Times that accompanied this episode, which talked about her recollections of the big freeze.
She remembered it?
Yeah.
Oh. You know what? I'll find it and I'll post it on our social media for when we release this.
Oh, I would love to look at that. I would really love to look at that.
Well, you will do. You'll just look at our social media.
Oh, girls, I'll tell you what, though. This episode was as heavy as they come, but I'm not kidding when I tell you that, like, I was watching it and I was absolutely lolling for the first 10 minutes. There were so many good lines and scenes in the first 10 minutes that it, like, really lifted me up. And then it, like, absolutely crashed me back down to earth as soon as I realized what happened to Mr. Tillerson and, like, what was going on with Mabel. But either way, just to say, the first few minutes were absolute bliss, and I loved it, and I would live in that world forever.
Yeah, so the start of the episode is very much like, because Christmas is over quite quickly, and then we get into the big freeze. Violet is fitting Valerie for her pantomime costume, and Violet says to Val, "You've certainly got the legs for Principal Boy." Was that a compliment?
That's what I thought. That's exactly what I've written. I don't know if I'd like to be told if I had the legs for Principal Boy. And then she was like, also, she keeps saying about how tall she is. I'm like, you're not even that tall, Val.
Yeah, you're right.
This is from someone who I am tall, but still.
I am tall too. Yeah. I mean, but Valerie is tall-ish in the grand scheme.
Yeah, but just ish. I've never looked at Valerie and thought, oh, she's tall. But
yeah,
if anything, I'd say Patsy was taller.
Yeah, Patsy is tall.
But all of a sudden, Patsy and Delia are missing. Where are they? Where'd they go?
The Christmas in with Jane.
I know, but this is the Call the Midwife curse. Like, literally, like, all of a sudden you're there and then you're just gone. And I know, and I think, if I remember correctly, that we don't see them again. And then they get a letter and it's like, oh, here's like a little whatever update. And then it's like, well, anyway, they're gone. Okay, bye. Like,
so they go traveling, don't they? Because they get a postcard and they're in some far-flung place. But no one actually said, oh, Patsy and Delia have decided to go traveling together.
Yeah, no. They're just all of a sudden like nurses without
I'd
borders.
like to think. So on Neighbours, yes, this is literally so niche, no one's going to care. But I'm telling you anyway. So Neighbours, there was a character called Marlene Kratz, and she went on a cruise. And that's how they got rid of her, right? But she never came back. So everyone's just laughing about the fact that she's been on this 16-year cruise. Maybe Jane is on that cruise with Marlene Kratz. with Reverend Appleby Thornton, and now Delia and Patsy have gone to join them.
Joined them, yeah.
Oh, you guys, though, listen, I just thought about Reverend Appleby Thornton the other day because my mom and I were watching this show called Archie, and it's basically the story of Cary Grant. It's on, I'm sure it was on BBC. Yeah, did you watch?
It's brand new over here. They're advertising it everywhere.
Oh, okay. So they have it on BritBox that we have. So we watched that show. And it's really good. Like Jason Isaacs is
I've got it on my
Cary
list.
Grant. Yeah, it's really good. I highly recommend. And this isn't really spoiling anything, but he has a crazy life story, like truly crazy life story. But the guy who plays Cary Grant's manager in that show is Reverend Appleby Thornton. And I hadn't seen him since
he's so talented.
A while. He's really good. And like
he's amazing.
He played one of the prime ministers on The Crown. I mean, he's been in 8 million things. He's like one of those character actors that's just so good and he's everywhere. But we were watching it and I was like, oh my gosh, Mom, it's Reverend Appleby Thornton. And
AKA Rat from my notes.
I know. And I just was like, I love him. Like I want to go back to that episode and watch it again.
Now, this is a very complicated episode to navigate around. So on that note, Becky, you can navigate.
I don't even know where we're going to go first. I do want to talk about the fact that they took a photo as a group with a sign that said Christmas 1962.
I know.
And it's made me want to do this.
I knew you'd want to do that when you saw that. I saw that as well. And I thought, I bet Becky wants to do that.
I might do it this year.
It's such a good idea, though. Like, everyone was in the photo. They all looked so good. It was really cute.
Well, now we've got iPhones and stuff, though. You can see what years stuff was taken and what date. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you'll get a photo from me on Christmas Day with a poster.
Oh, I hope so. I really hope so.
Let's start by talking about Trixie and Christopher, because they're off skiing in Switzerland.
Oh, okay. I have thoughts about this, girls.
Have either of you heard the term muskwatch? Not from Call the Midwife.
No, I didn't even hear. I don't even. Yeah, no, I didn't. No idea.
I've heard it, but I couldn't.
So the first time we heard it was when Avril had said that her hat was muskwatch.
I think my grandma had a coat as well that was.
Oh,
we didn't know what animal it was, a small furry animal, but I suspect it was probably.
Well, anyway, she's now got a muskwatch hat.
Muskwatch hat. Oh, okay.
Only 2 times in history I've ever heard it be referenced. Both Call the Midwife.
If Trixie had made it to Switzerland, she would have just been surely she would have been so out of place.
I don't think she would have. No, they've skiing all the après posh skiers.
Après ski.
Because surely all of the outfits that she was taking was so impractical.
But they were après ski. I don't think she was ever going to get on a slope. Like, I don't think she was going to put...
Bex, a lot of people I know who are posh who go skiing don't go skiing. They just go drinking, après skiing.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you eat like hot cheese and drink, and then at like 4:30 you're absolutely plotzed, and then you like go back up to your room or chalet or whatever like that. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, the pubs actually go skiing.
But here's my question, girls. Okay, now this is a throwback to when young Jenny, was going on a weekend away with.
Yes.
Oh, Alec. And I was watching this episode and I was like, oh, okay. They're at the vacation. They're at their like first couples vacation stage. Like that's a very important relationship stage. And I was like, they're going to Switzerland. No one knows them in Switzerland. And nothing from Switzerland is going to come back to Poplar if it doesn't want to. So I was like, do we think that Trixie and Christopher are going to share a bedroom?
No.
I like the way we're both like, no, we don't have an explanation for you, but we both think no, resolutely.
Well, see, I didn't necessarily think so either, but at the same time, I was like, huh.
I found it weird it was actually accepted that she was going to go with him, like it wasn't this big scandal. I think actually that would have been a big scandal.
Well, they didn't even talk about it at all. And like Jenny literally had 45 minutes of her episode talking about sleeping arrangements on her vacation. And it was like, that was only like not even 10 years ago. It was like 5 years ago, maybe, or less. I mean, I don't know time-wise or whatever, but you know what I'm saying? It wasn't that long.
My parents in 1968 or 1969, my mum came to stay with my dad for the holidays. They met at university in like the September or whatever, and then she came to stay, and my grandparents were going to be away. They arranged for my dad's grandma to stay at the house as chaperone
to like supervise them.
Yeah, and that was like 8 years after that. My point being, I just really can't see everyone being fine with Trixie going off to Switzerland with a man, like a gentleman friend.
Well, and I'll say this for Trixie. I mean, she makes a point, not in this part of it, but like years earlier, of being like, oh, men may think I'm a certain type of way, but like I'm really like a very proper, like traditional woman.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I didn't think they were going to spend the night either, but at the same time, I'm like, I mean, it's just weird because it's hard to imagine thinking about going on a vacation or like a holiday or whatever, or some kind of a trip with your boyfriend, your real life boyfriend, and like being like, well, babe, book us 2 rooms. You know, like it just like nowadays it's just not.
To be honest, with my husband's snoring problem, it sounds absolutely blissful.
You're like, honey, we're booking 2 rooms. I want a chaste holiday with my spouse.
I just think that Trixie is very proper. I think, and she's made that point that people think she's a certain way, but she's absolutely not. So
I took it as she'd been going around saying they've booked 2 rooms to everyone.
Yeah, I think Christopher is also like a very like proper, respectable guy. Like I feel like he might be able to be convinced, but I'm just saying, like, I think he would be like wanting to do whatever makes her comfortable and genuinely not assuming anything. So I mean, I don't think he's the kind of guy that would push at all.
For some context as well, we've just said that they're going to Switzerland. So it's obviously been Christmas. There's been this massive, we need to talk about Christmas actually. We'll talk about that in a second. But it's been this massive freezing cold spell that was just ridiculous. Really, really cold, really, really snowy. So the flight was grounded. So they were supposed to go, but then couldn't. So he had to actually spend the night in an artist's house, bless him.
I know, which like really had me like, I was, again, this is part of the lulls. Like I was lulling so hard.
And did they remind you by all the alcohol they were trying to ply him with and things like that? Did it remind you of my mum, you two?
When we go over to your house, no matter what time of day it is or what the occasion is, she's like, do you want a glass of wine? I'll get you a glass of wine. Here's a glass of wine. And you're like, it's 11:30 in the morning.
And you can have a choice of any sort of wine.
Yeah. I know. And you've got loads. And then like before you're even done, she's like, top up.
Honestly, do you remember that time we all went to a wedding and then the next day we were all travelling from Manchester Airport, so we all came to stay at mine, all the girls from uni. We were going on this massive holiday, like 10 of us, apart from our one friend who went on a honeymoon. Sorry. Anyway, we all went.
She lost out, honestly. It was really a bummer that she had to be the one to get married. Yeah.
So we all went on holiday to Spain. It was amazing, but we were all flying. And basically, my brother and my dad were taking us all in the morning.
I do remember this.
We were all pretty hungover from the wedding anyway. And we get there. And basically, my mum was just there. And Jen, you were absolutely off your face. You were so drunk.
Do you remember the photographer taking photos of Jen? And we were like,
yeah, you passed out.
Oh, don't talk about it. It's a terrible.
I'm talking about the day before the flight. So the next morning when we're all getting up at daft o'clock for this flight, we're so hungover because my mum's just been plying us with alcohol. There was like 10 of us.
Well, so wait. So the day after the wedding, we like woke up in our hotel rooms at the venue, and then we had like a day to kind of like get over
travel to mine.
Everything. Yeah. And then that night we stayed at yours, and then the next day is when we left.
Yeah.
So we did have like at least 24 hours to kind of like sober up before we had to get on a plane.
Yeah, but we didn't sober up, did we? Because my mum just kept. We were all really hungover.
We were. I mean, I didn't even drink anything else, but I think I was still drunk for like the whole of the next day. I mean, and I was, oh God, I don't
think I went to bed.
Anyway. I think I did go to bed because I don't think I slept at all that night of the wedding when I was, let's not talk about this anymore.
I don't think you probably did go to bed, Alex, because I was staying with you and another friend, but ended up going back to the other venue.
Well, yeah,
we had all these
we had all of these like really weird sleeping arrangements. Like, and I was supposed to sleep with you guys, but then it just all went so crazy that night.
I just had a load of roller cola cocktails till about 5 a.m.
We should probably talk about Call the Midwife.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway.
I think given half the chance, Sister Julienne would have gone to Switzerland because everybody is so enamored with Christopher.
They all love him. I know.
Julienne,
Sister Monica Joan would like
spooning, calling him such a very personable young man.
Yeah, Sister Monica Joan would be like pinching his butt. You know what I mean? Like she's a real guy. She's giving me real butt pinching energy. You know, like
it made me laugh because he obviously had to stay over, so they were playing parlor games. They kept calling them parlor games, which I loved.
Oh my God, musical
giving
chairs.
Him loads of stuff. Yeah, but they were doing a mum on and giving him loads of drinks and loads of just making sure his every want and need. We're all sorted. Nurse Crane went and sorted his bedroom out and said she'd even given him an electric blanket.
Yeah.
I know. So anyway, in the morning afterwards, Trixie and Val are talking. They're freezing, and Val's like, "It's even frozen inside the window. It's even worse. Your flight's definitely not going to go this morning," kind of thing. Yeah. And so Trixie goes out to the toilet, and then she's like, "Christopher's seen me in my hair rollers." Comes back.
Well, he comes out in a pink night robe, a pink bathrobe.
If I were Trixie,
really good on him, actually. Like, I don't know, it was kind of working for me. I liked it.
If I were Trixie, I'd have slept in the fur coat.
I know.
Well, and I just loved how Valerie, Trixie, sees him. They both see each other, and he's just like, "Hi," like he doesn't care. Yeah. And then she's like, "Oh my God!" And she runs back in the bedroom, and she tells Valerie what happened. And Valerie's like, "Well, he's a medical professional. I hardly think he's gonna have a problem with seeing in your rollers." And she's just like, "Oh."
Yeah, she's like, "You didn't think your hair looks like that naturally."
Yeah. That's what she says. That's what she says.
So the toilet is frozen. Why was Sister Winifred so insistent that he shouldn't look?
I didn't think she'd done something in it, hadn't she?
No.
You think?
No.
Yes.
Wait, what?
Yes, I think she'd done something in it and then was like horrified, didn't want anyone seeing.
Oh.
Can
No,
I just
but
say, spoiler for the end of this episode, and no one's taking my zero. My zero is going to be Sister Winifred. Just for that pure stupidity of the toilet moment. But carry
But see,
on.
the thing is, I thought it was something like that, like a classic reason why the toilet wasn't flushing. But then when she was banging on it, she was clearly like cracking ice. So you think she like did something on top of ice
Yeah, I
that she
didn't think
didn't
she
realize?
I think she didn't realize it was ice, did something on
Oh my
it,
God.
and then's
Well,
really
see,
embarrassed.
but see, I just was mortified on her behalf because then she like cracks literally the whole toilet bowl in half.
I know.
Which I tell you, that would absolutely send me to the moon because then it's like, how are we ever going to get a toilet back? You know what I mean? Like, Nana's house already does not have a lot of money. Like, they would have to like call somebody to get it fixed, and like that's so much money. And like, how long is it going to take? Like, who's going to come out and do it in this weather?
Well, Fred.
All of
Fred
that
will
kind of
sort
stuff.
it. Fred will sort it.
Oh
But
yeah, well
lots of
he'll jimmy
households-
up a Kazi like quite well or whatever.
Well,
Lots of households have a don't flush in the middle of the night because you'll wake the house policy.
yeah.
Really? Is that true?
Have you never heard of that?
No.
To be honest,
'Cause
I
you-
don't
'cause
flush in the middle
you'll
of the
wake-
night. It's because I don't
you'll-
want to wake my daughter.
Oh, I always flush in the middle of the night.
Well, that is a lovely what a free and expressive
I know.
household you are.
I know. We listen. Well, the thing is, I mean, I never thought about not. Oh well, I guess
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure people don't. I'm sure I'm not the norm or anything like that, but yeah.
I'm still surprised that there's only one toilet indoors for the amount of people that live in Anata's
It's
house.
shocking. It's
Well, if you remember
shocking.
though, they got rid of that room that was full of urinals. They would have had toilets in there as well, wouldn't they?
Yeah. The thing
Yeah,
is
but
though,
Still, it's
The
a
thing
lot
is-
more to be sharing one toilet.
But also they
Well-
put loads of people in one room when there's loads of other extra rooms they suddenly find. So do you know what I mean? I feel
I
like that's
suppose
just
for
for
the
the
purpose
storyline.
of the story, yeah.
Yeah.
but they've got to have another toilet in there. Well, I guess they don't though, because then they all go to the outhouse. I mean, my thing that I thought was absolutely insane was when Valerie was like, "Can I please go first?" I'm absolutely bursting. I was like, "Valerie, how did you even make it this far?" Like literally, when I wake up in the morning, the very first I can't get dressed before I go to the bathroom. Like I have to go to the bathroom right away. Like I'm just like, how did you manage that? Also, like, how did they? Well, I guess it's not. I guess I was like, how did they let the toilet freeze over in the first place? But I'm just at the same time, I'm like, I guess they had no idea because all of them underestimated the storm. Like,
Oh yeah, it was
terribly.
apparently ridiculous, this big freeze.
Yeah, yeah.
Also,
went on
speaking
this
of a big
farm.
freeze, Trixie refusing thermals. She was
Yeah,
offered
I'm
buff
like-
or navy blue, and she was like, "Thanks, but I think I've sacrificed enough." Well, you might sacrifice your toes if you carry on like that. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
I just think there's no, I mean, I love a thermal. I wear a thermal vest. I'm not ashamed to say it.
And just to say, when you mean vest, you mean like a shirt, not like a vest that's like, you mean it's like a tank
A
top,
long
like we
sleeve.
a long
Yeah.
sleeve shirt, basically,
Yeah.
is what you're talking about. Oh, okay.
Why,
yeah.
what's a vest in America?
Well, a vest in America is what you guys would call a waistcoat.
Oh yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, like if I was Bex, I would have said, "Oh, I love a thermal. I wear a thermal long sleeve shirt all the time." I wouldn't have said vest. Not
Right,
that it's,
can-
I mean, just one of those things. Oh, here's
Anything
my
else on-
question
oh, go on.
on the storm. When Phyllis has realized that there's no milk, I'm like, here's my question to you girls, because we're all tea drinkers. Would you drink your tea without milk?
I do this sometimes because on a Monday morning, if I get into work early, there's no milk yet.
And
So
you'll still have a cup of tea?
I'll have a very weak tea. So I'll make half a cup and then I'll top it up with hot water.
Oh,
I would have to have it without milk because obviously there's no milk, but I would absolutely moan about it constantly
oh,
and
I
just
would.
be an absolute nightmare to be around until we got milk.
No, I can drink a weak tea, but my mum used to have tea with milk and sugar,
Mhm.
and then my granddad told her she wanted to I think she just wanted to stop taking sugar in her tea. So my granddad was like, for a week you need to have tea and lemon,
Oh, black tea and lemon?
black tea with a slice of lemon in it. So she
Oh.
drank that for a week, and then when she went back to her old tea, it was far too sweet.
So she
can
didn't
see
have
that
sugar in
with
it
the
after
sugar.
that.
Now she has black tea and black coffee.
Oh,
Your mum's hard as nails.
wow. Like
She actually
truly,
is.
that's
I love
that's the yeah, I know. That's the kind of personality that literally is what built both of our countries. Like I am not that kind of personality. I would just be like laying on the ground, just not doing
You know
anything,
how I
like
am
no
about my
productive.
knee? I'm really
Yeah.
miserable constantly. That's how I'd be about no milk.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I just would be like, I'm not having it. Like, I'm not this kind of person, but it's like, it's either going to be the way that I want it or it's nothing. Like, I will do something else in terms of the beverage train. I just was sitting there and I was like, if I can't have milk and sugar in my tea, I'm just not having it. I don't want to drink whatever that is that's in there if it's not the way I want. I just
I
can't do
would
it.
totally be Sister Monica Joe hiding milk in the outhouse. How long has that milk been there? What day were we on?
Oh my God, like 2 weeks or something. Because remember Phyllis, she comes down and there's like a montage of her like ripping all the days off the calendar. And like
Yeah.
literally a week and
I
a
thought
half
that.
goes by. Yeah. I'm like,
Maybe
Sister
it lasted
Monica
longer
Joe.
then. Everything else seemed to.
Well, yeah,
Poor
'cause they didn't.
Reggie is having water on. I tell you, this is what I would not do. I would not have water on cornflakes.
No, neither would I.
Oh, again, just would not eat cereal. If it's milk,
I'd
is
eat
literally.
it. I'd eat it dry rather than have water.
I would eat it dry. I would eat it dry. I mean, milk is literally 50% of the recipe. I mean, you
Yeah.
cannot substitute it. Like, there's no way around.
Speaking of
No.
Reggie, I loved
No.
it when he got aftershave.
Oh,
Yeah.
the Old Spice. And oh my God. Oh, wait, you guys, quick moment.
And also
for,
Angela's
like,
tea set.
Angela's tea set. Also, can we just like stop and pause because I've been like in my kitchen like a lot with like Christmas cooking and stuff like that and baking, whatever. Sheila's stand mixer, her vintage stand mixer. Did you see it? It
Well,
had the
did you not
paddle
get my
attachment.
message? My mum still has that.
She still has that one.
It looks identical.
Oh my God, Bex, I want a photo. I
I'll
want.
See,
send a
when
photo.
you sent that message, I was like, oh, right, that means absolutely nothing to me. Whereas you two are absolutely losing your mind over this. I'm like, oh, I don't know.
I want to go around. Well, this is a continuation of my insane I want to time travel so I can go to the grocery store, comment from last week, basically. But like, I want to walk around Sheila's kitchen and just like open all the cupboards and like pull out all the appliances because she's like the modern housewife of her time. You know what I mean? Like that stand mixer, that's the primo stand mixer. Like it's got the head that goes up, it's got the bowl that like clicks into it and everything, the paddle,
I will
and then
send you a photo, Jen. And
Please
she was
do, please
making
do.
Scotch pancakes. I had Scotch pancakes for my breakfast this morning.
Now wait, tell us what Scotch pancakes are so we all know.
Do you know, I researched this because I knew this was going to come up.
Look at our crack investigation team.
So a Scotch pancake, because then I was like, what? Why is Scotch pancake different? It's
Yeah.
basically a drop scone. Do you remember when Sister Winifred went to meet Sister Julienne's ex and the cook was making drop scones and she was ever so disappointed?
Yes, I do.
Well, it's the same as a Scotch pancake. So it's self-raising flour, sugar, butter, egg, and milk. So it's basically the same. I think it's very similar to an American style pancake.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think it's very similar because they're quite small like that as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
My daughter weirdly had these for breakfast yesterday. My husband got them for her yesterday as a treat because it was her big school play. So we got them in the morning for her as like a big thing to help
but
her.
like pre-made ones that she could heat up and
yeah, we didn't make them. We didn't make them, Jen.
Well, you know what makes me laugh though? Now, like, I mean, however long ago was we recorded the episode, when I heard the word drop scone, if I'm going to be honest about how I would say it, I thought it was like a scone that you didn't like shape and then cut into wedges, but that you literally just took 2 spoons and like scooped and then just let it like fall onto the pan and then you baked it the same way. I was not thinking of a pancake at all.
Yeah.
That is so wild. See, for us, pancakes are pancakes. Like we just have kind of like it's American style. It's not like it's a universal pancake. It's like our way that we eat it. But that would just be like a pancake for us. Wow.
Yeah, and I did look up the recipe for an American style pancake and it's basically the same thing.
Yeah. That makes a lot more sense because when you said drop scone, I was like, but she mixed it. It had like a batter. It wasn't like firm. Although, girls, I'll just tell you, speaking of pancakes, just quick diversion here. I found a pancake recipe because I love a pancake, but I do not like pancakes when they're like flat and kind of lit, I want like a really tall, fluffy, puffy
pancake day.
Well, see, I don't like British pancakes like how you do on pancake day. Like
My
I'm not
podcast is cancelled. It's cancelled. Get off.
Sorry. I know I just
hang on. Sorry, everyone. Jen, get off the call. Sorry, everyone. Recall the Midwife is now just me and Bex.
We had a nice run. I apologize.
She's ruined it, everyone.
I just want like a really thick pancake that's like really fluffy and like, holds a lot of syrup and butter and like all that kind of stuff like that. And I found this really, really amazing recipe, but the batter is so thick, you can't pour it. It's like, it's thinner than a scone or a biscuit batter or like mixture, but it's thick. It's way, way, way thicker than a regular pancake. And so basically you do have to like take a spoon, like scoop it and then like plop it onto the pan and then it just kind of like melt. Anyway, long story short, they're amazing.
Does it have egg in it?
It does have an egg in it.
Great.
Well,
Thanks
Alex
for that.
doesn't want to know then.
Sorry. Well, you can use egg replacer. You can use something else.
No, Becky does really good ones. She used buttermilk. Anyway, we're well off the topic here.
Oh,
Yeah, we are.
Speaking of Sheila,
Yeah.
they didn't say the name of the baby in the last episode. They just said it was a boy. So we actually got the name reveal, which is Teddy.
Baby Teddy, though, with his legs hanging bare.
Oh, baby Teddy. He was. Did you see him when there was one scene when
Got
she was
modern
walking by the
heating in their
Christmas tree?
household, Bex.
No, but there was one.
Sheila looked cozy. Everybody else was frozen to the bone.
Well,
Sorry,
I mean,
Jen.
she was wearing a heating blanket because that baby was on her the whole time. And the one that made me laugh was when he had the knit outfit and his whole body was just like this. It was like literally like a Mr. Potato Head shape because his whole body was just like teeny tiny. And then it just like had this, and then he just had this massive like 12-inch wide butt from his diaper. And I'm never going to get over these cloth diaper butted babies on this show. It's too cute. It's too cute.
It is, to be fair.
And he was sleeping low. I mean, that baby was baby Teddy. Oh my God, he's gorgeous. Also, do you guys still eat Brussels sprouts every year for Christmas? Because literally everybody was making Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, that's what we're all going to be doing in a week's time.
Well, I won't be because I don't have a traditional Christmas lunch. We have beef Wellington, but I went on my work's Christmas do and we had a traditional Christmas lunch, but it was nighttime. And we had, turkey with all the trimmings, which was sprouts.
Brussels sprouts is always on Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
Is it pretty much the only time of year you eat Brussels sprouts, or do you eat it like
I have them all year round.
Oh, okay.
No, it's the only time of year we eat them.
And how do you prepare your Brussels sprouts?
So times have changed. So a lot of people will do them like with bacon lardons.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you'll like boil them and then fry them off with some bacon and stuff and some butter.
Do you know what we do, Jen? My husband buys them microwave packs and pings them in the microwave.
That's sacrilege.
You say that, it's delish. We have it.
But do they
we
actually
have it for
taste
tea.
good?
I had them this week for tea. I had them with steak and some potatoes. It was lovely.
And they taste nice. They don't taste kind of like, oh, okay.
See, we love cabbage in this household as well.
Oh.
We like cruciferous vegetables.
Oh, cruciferous is a very good word.
Thank you.
Wow. Between that and the word used at the beginning. Okay, girls, wait. Now I love a diversion, but we have really gone.
All we've done is divert. Anyway,
I know. Okay.
No milkman. Reggie's
no
hat.
milkman.
These are all my
yeah.
Also, Barbara comes across in an artist's house because the community hall is flooded, so they can't have clinic there. They have clinic at Valerie's aunt's pub. That's probably all we need to say about
an artist's house.
I don't know. Also, here are my notes. Barbara's hair grew literally 4 inches in 2 weeks. Her hair was so much noticeably longer in that. Oh, and then my other thing about the snowstorm was Phyllis takes note, and then I wrote and then she told that cop, what for? Because this is the first time we meet that horrible cop that's like always intact. It's like
Sergeant Wolf.
Yeah, it's very much like the boy who pulls the girl's pigtails kind of energy from him for every time we see him.
Well, it seems like that, but then it never develops into.
Yeah, but but spoiler alert, he wants it to.
Yeah. That's what he's going for because, as we'll see down the road, that's where he's trying to get it to go.
Also, on the subject of police, last week when I was like, oh, what has a wedding dress salesperson done wrong to Heidi Thomas? The same goes for police because you've got hapless Peter and now Sergeant Wolf just basically going around being rubbish and just being awful and
like horrible. And the thing is, this week isn't even the worst of it. Like, remember, like I think there's like an episode in a couple of weeks where he's really heartless, and Phyllis has to like basically yell at him, and then he's like, oh, and then he does finally the right thing. But
Sister Julienne had a moment though, because when Barbara comes across to tell them that the community hall is flooded, Sister Julienne is quite critical of her hat. I'm like, it's freezing cold, and you're gonna ask if that hat is part of the uniform.
I know, and I love that hat. That is totally something I would wear in it.
Yeah, it is. It probably came from Alex's wardrobe.
Can we just talk really quickly about the Sergeant Wolf situation again, though? So basically, the policeman kind of has a bit of a
He's a job spit, isn't he?
Yeah, and he has a bit of a spat with Phyllis, who's normally very, very on rules and stuff. So she gets an igloo built, and he's like, she gets the pack. She gets the cubs to build an igloo. And he's like, take that down, it's a hazard. And she's like, what? This is ridiculous. And then he says, you should be doing something useful, right? With no witnesses apart from the cubs, right? And then there's this whole situation where everyone in the whole town is really annoyed about having no milk, which I would be exactly the same. They're all up in arms. They're trying to get milk from the milk place, and they're saying they can't give them milk into their things they've brought because it's not sanitary. They've got no bottles, and these people are bringing like urns and things like that, or like jugs, and we can't do that because they're not sanitized, and everyone's getting all annoyed and everything, and everyone's up in arms. And then there's this big public spat between Nurse Crane. Sergeant Wolf says something like, "What are you going to do about it?" or something. She says, "Since you ask, I'm off to do something useful." And then all the public laugh loads. They weren't there for the first time that he said do something useful. Why are they finding that so hilarious? Anyway, so I'll carry on the storyline. Pack, get a load of milk bottles with Reggie, and I loved it. I loved how inclusive and amazing it was for Reggie as well, and he was really amazing. And they got all the milk bottles, and everyone was all really, really loving it. And basically, they got a load of milk out to everyone, and it was just, that was the best part for me, I'm not gonna lie, because I hated the other storylines today.
Oh, did you? Can I just make a note about?
I didn't hate them. They were just so sad.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Auntie Florrie's pub.
Oh,
yeah.
And she's. This is the only point I think I'm going to speak on behalf of all as well. I say this is actually the only point we need to make on this storyline. But Auntie Florrie is very. When Val, is it Val that says she's going to go and set up the urine testing?
Yeah,
station.
It's Val. Mm-hmm.
And Auntie Florrie is very about cleanliness. She won't be that. She's not that judgmental about what goes on her kitchen table, is she?
Oh,
spoiler alert.
Yeah,
you said
exactly my point. I've got that written down as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know if we were going to meet somebody else today either, but we didn't. We just met Auntie Florrie, so that's fine.
Should we talk about the Tillisons?
Ugh, I hated this storyline so
much.
much.
It was just so sad.
So,
it was
Jen,
so
I don't know if
sad.
this will mean anything to you, but do you recognise Mabel Tillison?
Yes, but I don't know where from. I was like, I've seen this lady, but I couldn't place her. I definitely have.
Well, she's really famous over here for being on EastEnders. She was Angie in EastEnders, Angie and Den, which were a very, very famous couple. On Christmas Day, 19 million people tuned in for him to tell her he wanted a divorce, because, that's what we like in Britain, really cheery storylines. She's also in real life married to Brian May from Queen, so I didn't know if that maybe...
Oh my God, you're kidding!
No.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. Good for her.
Yeah. So anyway, we first meet the Tillisons when Mr. Tillison Percy goes to Dr. Turner, and he has a burn on his leg, and he's so lovely and happy and jovial.
And you think this is the nicest man, and he's so sweet, and he cares about his wife, and blah blah blah.
And then when they find the body, some kids find the body because his body's kind of been hidden in a snowdrift. You think, oh, this is so tragic.
Uh-huh.
Well, also, Dr. Turner was checking for a pulse.
The man is under 2 feet of snow, and he's just like, wait, hold on, just gotta make sure here,
Then he found his leg under the snow, to be fair, and identified it. That was good.
Yeah. But then Sister Julienne goes to Mabel's house. She looks in the peephole. Wait, did I jump ahead?
Well, should we talk about Dr. Turner bringing Sheila?
Oh yeah. You know what? Okay, just 2 moments here for Dr. Turner and Fred, because I love both of these men so much, but I'm sorry. Dr. Turner literally calls Sheila. He rants and raves. He complains the whole time.
About the woman you put in charge.
Yeah, exactly. Then by the way,
you put in charge.
That, by the way, he doesn't even remember the name of, which rude. Okay. And then she's like, oh, Patrick, well, we're going to have to do something about this. And he's like, oh yeah, I know we will. But also sorry. I've literally just complained for 45 minutes to you now on the phone. And he's like,
but he also shouts at her. He shouts at her and says, I've got enough to do, Sheila. Reminded me, put it in the drawer, Sheila. I've got enough to do, Sheila. Well, do you know what, mate? She's got a potty training baby, 14-year-old running around. She's just had her own baby that's breastfeeding all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I know. And then he's like, oh yeah, sorry, knowing full well she's gonna do something about it. She's not just gonna sit there and let him just suffer through or whatever.
Well, that's why he's doing it. It's the classic, oh, I'm gonna ring you and moan, but oh no, that's fine, I shouldn't have bothered you, but actually I know that
well, you should have thought about not bothering me 10 minutes ago when you picked up the phone, you know what I mean? And then the other one,
he's done it to bother her, and
that's exactly the point.
This scene will frustrate many women across the world.
Yes.
Because it frustrated me, because I was just like, I see that pattern. Yeah.
It's like, why are you calling me? What am I supposed to do about this? Like, do you want me to solve it? It's like, no, I don't want you to solve it. Then the other one was when Fred was mansplaining to Violet about why there was no milk. He's like, well, listen, Vi, milk comes from the country, and then they got to bring it into the thingy doos and blah blah. And I was just like, Fred, you don't think Violet knows how milk works? Okay, you don't have to tell her. It was so I love Fred, but it was so annoying.
So we should probably say that Sheila, prompted by Dr. Turner's call, comes back to work.
Yes.
Sister Julienne has also stepped into the breach. I do have to ask, why was Sheila getting dressed in the lounge?
Because they haven't got a set for their bedroom.
That's exactly why.
Because she gave birth in it the other week.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's right.
I don't. Maybe she's just maybe she's an exhibitionist and wants to give her neighbours a good show.
I'll tell you what though, when we were watching that, my mom was literally laughing, and she was like, "There's nothing more relatable." And she's like, "I've been there, girl." Like it was a very like, I know how you feel. It was
just
very
on
funny.
this last thing on this storyline. Do you know what else really annoyed me? When Dr. Turner said to Sheila, "You're doing too much, Sheila." Well, what? You're ringing her, guilting her into coming back into work, shouting at her because the person she hired that you can't remember the name of hasn't turned up. Like,
yeah.
And then she's like, "If I don't do too much, not enough gets done." I did like seeing him try and sew.
Yeah, I was like, good on him. Well, no, not good on him, because he
should have done it in the first place. Yeah.
But you know what? Also, like, throwback, Al, to your comment, like way long ago when you made the thing about Sheila sews to show she loves, and it's another scene where she's sewing because out of love.
Yeah.
So
with every stitch, there was a bit of her heart or something ridiculous.
But Sister Julienne steps in. She gets her A to Z out, and she finds Mabel Tillotson so that she can break the news. Her neighbours don't even know she lives there, because they've never seen who lives there, because Percy keeps her under lock and key.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, she gets them to break in, doesn't she? Because she
looks through the
keyhole. No, it's letterbox.
The letterbox. I was like, what do you call that? The letterbox. She looks through the letterbox and she sees that she's passed. Is she passed out on the sofa? She's unconscious.
Yeah.
She's unconscious on the sofa.
Yeah.
And we're all thinking like, oh no, this woman is going to be so bereaved, and like she's passed out and it's so terrible, blah, blah, blah. Well, come to find out.
No. I loved it when she just turned the photo upside down.
Yeah. She was like,
I'm glad. Yeah.
I'm
glad he didn't know how to say it. She kept saying, I'm glad she left. And I'm glad he didn't have a say about how he met his aunt. And I'm glad she kept saying it. Like, all right, mate.
Well, but the thing is, it was so painful because Sister Julienne kind of she realizes, okay, this woman is not upset that her husband hasn't come home. She's not only not upset he hasn't come home, she's really actually happy that he's died, finally. And then you hear about the son who basically decided to run away to the war as a way to escape his horrible family. So he was a boy soldier. Yeah, in World War II. He was in a Japanese internment camp, and the mother was like, oh, that'll be okay because he's already suffered so much. He knows how to take abuse and survive it.
I was glad.
Well, yeah, exactly. But then tragedy, the son dies of cholera in that concentration or in the prisoner of war camp. Okay, that's bad enough. Well, then it's like, okay, that's horrific. Well, come to find out, there's another child, a daughter.
Anthea.
And who?
Anthea.
Anthea, yes, exactly. I was like, wait, what? I forgot her name. I apologize. But then and Sister Julienne is like, oh, she's so beautiful. And she's like, I know. That was the problem because my horrible, disgusting husband did horrible things to this young woman, which I don't even want to say what he did, but just
his own daughter.
Yeah, just imagine.
We're hearing this on Christmas Day. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, this is because all the Christmas Day episodes are aired on Christmas Day in the UK. Also, by the way, Jen, it's aired on Christmas Day in the US this year as well. Yeah. Anyway, but it's just so dark for Christmas Day, finding out about this incest storyline.
Yeah, and not just that.
Well, do you know what annoyed me? So Mabel Tillotson tells Julienne, she's very real oversharer, but she tells her all this within like the first 5 minutes of the video.
But I think she would open up to her because she's a nun.
Well, also now he's died, there's no consequences, is there?
Well, yeah, it's the first time she can really talk to somebody in probably like 50 years or whatever.
Yeah, but she still lied. She said that Angela ran away, and I was glad, right? So
Isn't
she said
that called Anthea?
Anthea, yeah.
You said
Angela. I just called her Angela.
Did I? Oh God, honestly, I just read that. It says Anthea right in front of me, and I said Angela.
Well, I think maybe she's the thing is I think the ran away story is basically like glossing over of the actual truth, which then they do get to the heart of, which is basically that Anthea suffered terrible sexual abuse at the hands of her father for like a good portion of her childhood, resulting in a incestuous pregnancy at 15.
Oh.
And then when they realize that happened, the mother goes home somehow. So then the father finds out what's happened. He kicks the daughter out. Before he kicks her out, Mabel puts 10 bob note into her coat pocket. And then Anthea comes running back like, no, let me back in, which is so painful as well to think about the complexities of that family dynamic there. But she ultimately does leave with that money. And then, as the records show, and the way they told it was like really heartbreaking, because Sheila was basically using medical records to give the exposition for what happened in this family, because then Mabel suffers a really horrific beating right after, that news is discovered, which, but she's the only one at that point that can be the one to get the abuse because there's nobody else in the household. So then she suffers with Percival for the next God knows how many years. And then Sister Julienne, sorry, now I'm just telling the whole thing. But anyway, Sister Julienne then finds Anthea, and it turns out that she is like a married mother of 3 with a 4th one on the way, but she's also fostered like 30 children in her life.
Well, yeah,
and
she was saying she never wanted to close a door in anyone's face. She always wanted to keep doors open. That's why she did it.
And she's never raised a hand to any child. She's only ever raised her voice.
Yeah.
Which
and
was
I
another
think
huge.
When she says that nobody opened the door to her, I don't think Mabel would have had a choice. Her mother wouldn't have been able to let her back in because she would have been under Percy's control.
I'm not saying she did. I'm not saying she was. Well, she kept saying she was glad about stuff. I'm not saying, but I just thought it was a bit strange how she did lie to Sister Julienne, because she said, "Oh, did my mother tell you to run away?" And she was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Well, I didn't run away. I was kicked out." And I'm like, "Oh, why did she lie when she actually?" Maybe it's to make herself feel a bit better or look a bit better in that story. I don't know.
I think it
but
is,
also,
honestly.
do you think sometimes people tell themselves
stories, yes,
a story, and then it almost becomes
yeah.
And when she does kind of say to Sister Julienne that she put the 10 bob note in her pocket. I that bit where I just thought that bit was heartbreaking, because that was her escape route, that 10 bob note.
Yeah,
but she didn't use it.
But I think she
gave
gave
it
up
to her. That's
escape
what I'm saying. Yeah,
for her daughter.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
she's like, I gave her the option that I was never brave enough to take myself.
Yeah.
Which was so deeply sad. I mean, just the whole way that they told the story was, it was, heartbreaking and really painfully sad, but like at the same time, like beautifully done, because the scene where Sister Julienne goes to Anthea's house after she's learned the real truth of it all, and she's, gone with Mabel to the funeral and all of that kind of stuff. She says, would you like to meet her? There's this like dinner we're having for the seniors and a Christmas show and everything. And she says, no, I can't do it. Like it's drug up like all these really painful memories. And like, she's like, I want to enjoy my last baby. Like I couldn't enjoy my first. And she's like, I can't see her. And she says, she says the thing about, like something about closed doors, like I don't want to close the door in anyone's face. And then Sister Julienne says, I know that's that I respect your decision because that's how we operate as well. And then you realize that, for Sister Julienne, it's like, I have to keep my door open for Mabel because she still deserves like, care and attention just like anyone else. And like, just because she's gone through this and just because she's made her mistakes in her life and has been, victimized or anything, we can't, keep her apart, basically, and it was just, and then do you guys want to say what happened?
Yeah, so Mabel does go to the lunch and she sat ready to watch the pantomime, and then Anthea comes and she brings her new baby and she brings her husband and her children.
A bunch of her
And I just
children.
thought that scene was so lovely, because the fact that Mabel just had no words when she saw her. I don't know, it was so well done.
I'm going to just rain on everyone's parade here. I hated it. I hated it.
Why?
I hated it. I felt like, I don't know if I was in a mood when watching it, but I still didn't like it. I didn't like how Sister Julienne was so meddling. This poor not Angela, why have I just called her Angela again? Anthea has gone through this horrific traumatic time. And yes, Mabel's been through a traumatic time as well, but Anthea's had horrific time. She's pregnant again. She's about to have a 4. She's like, I don't want this. I don't want this. And Julienne just kept visiting her. And I just thought it was so meddling. And I was just like, go away. Just leave her alone. It really annoyed me. And Sister Julienne could never do wrong ever to me normally. But I just did not like it. I just thought, just leave her alone. She's asked you not to, and she still carried on, and it just annoyed me. I don't think it was just a very difficult, it didn't sit right with me, a horrible storyline. And I think I just kept thinking about the fact that it's Christmas Day and I would have been annoyed watching it live.
Well, listen, I didn't have the same feeling, but I respect your opinion for sure. 100%.
But I think ultimately, a lot of feelings have been buried by Anthea, and I think Sister Julienne was right, because it helped her to process it.
I just still don't know if anything could be. I don't know. I've never been through a situation like that, and maybe I'm being too harsh on Mabel, but I just think I
But
would
you've got
not.
to remember, maybe.
Well, here's how I look at it, okay? Because I actually thought about this like after
I
I
just
was
don't
like
think I could
sobbing my
forgive
eyes
Mabel
out.
if I was Anthea, even if I could get that he was very coercive, controlling and all this, and it wasn't like now where the women could leave easier and everything like that. I get that, but even then, I just thought it was quite rich of Sister Julienne to try and get her to forgive her now, just because he's died. Like, there's still a hell of a lot that's happened that would be so traumatic for Anthea, and I just think it was quite glib of Sister Julienne. And I never ever think Sister Julienne is a meddler, and this did annoy me.
Well, I'll say two things about it. First off, I think, I mean, because you've said this to me about certain storylines that I have kind of a similar reaction to. You're like, look, at the end of the day, it's still a Sunday night, it's still a Christmas episode. Like, people do want, reconciliation. They want something like uplifting. And like, if you're gonna have a hard
Talk rubbish,
storyline,
Jen.
it's
Talk
it's a
rubbish.
way to. Well, listen, I've had this reaction about other storylines, and you're like, yeah, I know, but remember,
I'm
like,
joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
so I
I'm
get
very
it, but
wise, Jen.
you are, and I'm using your own logic against you, which I
Yeah.
know is was something you love to have happen. But the other thing too is like one thing I thought about the storyline after, as again I was like still sobbing, was that what I appreciated was that a lot of times in a story of abuse, the abuser, the victimizer, has a very significant role, and they're kind of a centerpiece of it, because it's like, it's in many ways like their story. The thing that I feel like they did very thoughtfully in this is that they really kind of dispensed with Percival pretty quickly, and though the aftermath of his actions was omnipresent when you were talking with these two women, it was still about the journey that they had to go on and what they were going to do and how the choices that they were going to make as they stepped forward. And I didn't see, I mean, Sister Julienne kept on going back to Anthea for sure, but at the same time, I didn't see her like pushing, and I didn't feel it was pushing. I felt, or meddling. I felt that, she was kind of asking to come in and discuss, and then Anthea was giving her that permission. And even when Anthea objected, she was like, okay, I understand, I'm just giving you this option,
Yeah,
and then they let the ladies figure it out themselves, and it was about their ability to kind of go forward and, begin like taking a very, very first tentative step towards some kind of understanding, compassionate reconciliation, something like that, maybe. But I didn't see like, oh, all of a sudden this history is like forgiven and it's washed away and like everything's fine. So that's a little bit of context from me. But
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think she was giving Anthea the choice.
Mm-hmm.
And also Mabel and Anthea were both victims of Percy.
Very much.
Definitely. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying Mabel wasn't, but at the same time, I feel like Anthea was more.
Oh,
Well,
absolutely.
she was more for sure, but I just, again, I mean, I think I would only say that I don't think quantifying abuse in terms of like who suffered more, who's like more to blame or whatever. I mean, the thing I would lay at Mabel's feet is that because she was an adult and because she was a parent, that there was something different about her dynamic there.
I think that's what I think. I think that's why I'm a bit. She should have been more protective as a mother. And I know I get why they've explained it well, but I'm still just a bit against it.
But I think, I mean, Percy was the one who threw Anthea out. But I don't think Mabel would have had the option to let Anthea back into the house.
Right.
But also, if she had have had that option, that was Anthea's escape route.
And look, I mean, I hate to hear this when it's leveled at me, when it's something I'm railing about on this show. But the thing we always have to remember with Mabel is that, like, especially, I mean, not even in 1962, but especially 20, 30, 40 years earlier, she had absolutely, like, not even no rights, like less than no rights, like negative rights. You know what I mean? She didn't have, I mean, when we had that storyline earlier with the woman who was getting abused and Sister Julienne was talking to Peter and Jenny Lee about it, it was like she can't do anything. She can't file for divorce. I mean, the woman that was married to Lenny, the guy who just got out of prison that was like beating her up and everything, she had to basically make a case for why he was. I mean, it was just Mabel was as helpless as a child in many ways in that situation, just like Anthea was, because the society that produced that relationship didn't give her agency as a full adult, So I mean, she was an adult, she was a parent, but in terms of her ability to fight back against her abuser, she was really, I mean,
I know, but we're not going to agree on this. I just can't.
And it's okay if we don't. It's okay if we don't.
He wasn't protecting
but also,
a child from rape.
I don't think it's easy now for women to walk away from that situation. But also, you've got that added layer of complexity that Mabel wouldn't even be able to open a bank account. she wouldn't be able to have a mortgage without a male countersign. Like she just wouldn't have had the logistics of being able to start a new life.
I mean, I'll say this. I think the fact that we're all having such powerful feelings about it and that we feel differently about it shows what a complicated issue it is, and that it's a really tough one. And I mean, the fact they put this in the show just continually is like so wild to me, because I mean, I know that's what it's about.
Day. What a dark, depressing story on Christmas Day.
But they're never light stories, are they? On a
Well,
Sunday.
Remember Mrs. Jenkins?
Tom and Barbara, just a lovely wedding.
I know, but Mrs. Jenkins was the story in like the first season, and she was like the workhouse lady, and then it was the girl who gave birth in the shed, and then she like
lovely light storylines, Jen.
And I think I understand partly where you come from, Alex, because you're like, she didn't stand up for her daughter.
Yeah, and that is really painful.
But I don't think she's
but also I am, you know how full of compassion I normally am. And I am. I was the only one who liked Marnie, who was like compassionate about it. But I just, honestly, there's something about this storyline that just didn't sit well with me. It just didn't.
Yeah, that's okay. That truly is okay, obviously.
I will say Anthea's husband seemed lovely, though.
Oh, Mr. Sweeting?
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I love him too.
And I'm not making light of this whole storyline, but can we just all say Anthea?
Anthea?
That's you said it. You say it. How do you say it?
Bex? How do you say it?
Anthea.
Jen, you say it how?
Anthea?
Yeah, Anthea. I just think that's cool. Anyway, is that how they say it in America more? Anthea.
Yeah, I don't think I would say Anthea. Yeah, I think I'd have it as like almost 2 syllables. That's probably how I'd say it, yeah.
Speaking of weird names, should we go on to Selwyn and Linda?
Yes.
Selwyn, I mean.
Now, actually, this storyline was, in comparison, a lot more uplifting, even though it had its very dark moments, too, where all of us were sobbing into our pillows, or was that just me? Oh, my word.
Well, Linda, she's really quite an oversharer on a first checkup with Val. She's just like, he's not the father of my baby. I don't really like him. In fact, I hate him.
She's like my neighbour. I'm not a fan of an oversharer.
Oh man, have you guys ever had a thing where you like don't even like somebody, but then at the same time you're like kind of, then this is not Linda and Selwyn at all. I'm just like now going off on another tangent where you like don't even really like somebody, but you find yourself like weirdly being preoccupied with them, and you're just like, what are they thinking? What are they thinking? Like, what does this mean? What does that mean? And it's just like, why am I bothering? I genuinely don't have any interest here, but like for some reason it just grabs your brain.
Well, that's Should I do a bit Selwyn and Linda, because she's in a relationship with him, even though she doesn't seem to like him at all.
Should I do some scene setting for us with Selwyn?
Yeah. Oh yes, that's really good, actually. Yes, do that.
So they've come to Poplar. They come to the clinic in the pub because Linda hasn't had a midwife's appointment in London. They've moved down from up north.
Hull.
Selwyn is a roofer, and Linda has basically got into a relationship with somebody. She's fallen pregnant. Did Selwyn come to fix the roof at her lodgings before she was thrown out?
Yeah, let's say that. I've no idea.
The whole building was falling down, and she was like, he was part of the crew that came to fix it.
And he was basically kind to her. He said he doesn't mind that the baby's not his. He's prepared to take on the responsibility. Selwyn's lovely. Linda was a bit
horrible.
I thought you were going to say Linda was a bleep and something.
That's
Selwyn was absolutely
say,
top notch. Selwyn was top of his name.
Selwyn was
top
lovely.
Notch.
Oh, he was amazing.
They're living in a caravan. I'm surprised they didn't freeze to death.
I know. I've
know.
stayed in a caravan. So I worked for Eurocamp for one summer when I was like 21. And we did the stage where you take everything down. So we were staying in caravans, taking tents down, going around different campsites, like closing it down for the winter. And it was, oh my goodness, it was absolutely freezing in these caravans. And that wasn't in the big freeze in 1962. We had heaters.
Yeah.
Oh wait, girls, sorry. This is a very stupid side note, but I'm just gonna do it right now. Much like Fred's overalls, I now really want Barbara's Fair Isle sweater that she was wearing when she and Tom were talking about the move, because it looked, and then when Val brought the baby back, and then Barbara and Tom ran from their house over to like see if everyone's okay, and she was talking to Val about it, I was like, oh, I really want that Fair Isle cardigan so bad.
Well, hang on, let's get to that. So anyway, she goes into labor.
Yeah.
And in the labor, can I just say she was I want it out. I want it out. That was me. That was 100% me.
Well, how
Val had just gone to check up on her, hasn't she? But then found her in labor.
Yes. Was she a bit early, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She had a baby boy, and that would have been the end of that lovely storyline, and everyone would have been happy. But obviously, the baby wasn't breathing. It was making no noise. It was absolutely hard. Again, this isn't Christmas Day. We've already had the flaming incest storyline, and now this. I was sobbing my
Oh.
heart out.
Oh.
Oh,
I
it was
did
just
love
horrific.
the scene.
Well, Val was trying to revive him. It was just horrific.
I'm just talking about a lovely scene. I loved the scene where Trixie came out to because Val hadn't come back
Oh, and
and
she was
just
worried.
threw the
Yeah.
bike down.
Yeah.
That would have
Yeah.
been me.
Mm-hmm.
But Selwyn said, "Don't cover his face," which was And I've just
Which
got
saved
loads
my
of notes
life.
saying here, "OMG,
Well,
a Christmas Day episode."
well, when Selwyn gave him a hot water
Yeah,
bottle.
Selwyn saved that baby.
He really
Really,
did.
truly, he did. Yeah, Val clearly wasn't doing it. I mean, no
Oh,
harm against
poor
Val, but
Val.
Oh, it's not her fault.
no, it's not her fault. It really isn't. I didn't mean it that way. But I just was like, oh, that baby. And then when she heard it like cooing or crying or whatever in the bag, and then oh my God, I just
And
But
then
I did love
Linda saying that she didn't see him. And obviously Selwyn hadn't said he was beautiful, but she didn't want to, she couldn't look. And then she was saying she didn't feel like his mum, and Trixie was so lovely in that scene, saying that she did know him
really
because he
good.
was inside of her and knew her heart. And
that
then
was really beautiful. That was really beautiful.
I really loved that when Tom and Barbara came over, Barbara went straight to Val.
I
yeah,
know.
same. They are a dream team with that kind of thing within a disaster. I'd want Barbara rather than Tom, can I just say?
Oh,
So Trix,
1000%. I'm
yeah.
sorry. Tom is like, oh, sorry.
So Trixie was really good in that moment, but I tell you what moment she wasn't good in is when so the baby is alive, it's well, they put it into an incubator and an ambulance brings it back to the caravan.
I would
It
not
was
have
how
done what
she wrote
Trixie
the
did.
news.
I know. That actually
I've
It
annoyed
was
written,
me.
horrific.
I've written it down.
Oh,
Right, say it, because honestly, I
Okay.
knew you were going to say it.
She says, I know you're grieving, but sometimes when a terrible thing happens and we survive it, we find something beautiful waiting for us on the other side. I would have
No,
run into that
no.
caravan.
he's alive.
He's
I
alive.
know. I literally would have been like, oh, just like totally uncouth. Totally. This is to me, that line was like somebody who has created a narrative device, like, they have this baby, da da da, then and then they're like, okay, but we need a bridge between them being grief stricken about a dead baby and then them hearing that the
It sounded
baby
like
is
a riddle.
alive.
It was honestly like a riddle.
No, but
Sometimes, like
oh, I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's like someone was like, "How do I get from here to here?" And they just didn't know. And then they thought of this, or someone suggested, who knows what. This part came, and they were like, is that really right?" And then it was like, "Well, it's time to shoot the scene. So here you go. Here's the script." And like, I was just like, "No, this is just too weird." Like, it just. Also, why wasn't it Val? I mean, Val delivered the baby. Val was one that was with them. Why didn't she? She was there too. It wasn't like she didn't travel in the ambulance. Like, she should have gone in and been like, "Linda, Selwyn, like you, the
we
most
thought the baby
miraculous
was
thing."
dead, but it wasn't.
Like the
But
most
no,
miraculous
instead,
thing
let's solve a
happened.
riddle from Trixie.
It was just weird. It was just weird.
Also,
I'm sorry.
Trixie talked about them surviving it. They're only like half an hour into.
To be fair, it's the worst traumatic thing that would ever have happened to them,
Oh
obviously.
yeah. I mean, but I was just like, oh, you guys, I mean, I just really felt for Linda because I mean, you could tell she was so conflicted about every single part of that situation leading up to it, and not to say that she wasn't like looking forward to having the baby, but at the same time you were like, this is a woman who's deeply, well, I said it before, like conflicted, I felt. And so then when that happened and the baby wasn't making it, then it seemed like she just felt incredibly guilty is what I got. And then she realized kind of what she had and what she like, was losing at the time before she knew that the baby was okay. And then I mean, to me, the scene that was actually really nice, and I was like so grateful we got there, even though it was really painful to do it, was when they were finally in the hospital. And then she turned to Selwyn and she said, "I really want to name him after you." And she said, "Selwyn's a bit awkward. Do you have a middle name?" And he was like, "Yeah."
Selwyn. I'm not calling that. What's your middle name?
Yeah.
That's Selwyn.
But Selwyn was, oh my God, Selwyn was truly a hero. Like, honestly, one of the best men of the show. I'm just going to say it.
He was great.
Yeah. A plus plus plus.
Also, another
Love
thing I
him.
liked in this whole thing was when Val said she didn't believe in God to Sister Monica Joan, and it just made me absolutely laugh. I was just like, oh, it was awkward.
Oh, see, I actually really thought that was a beautiful scene because
Same, but it's just the way she said it to Sister Monica Joan.
she's like, "I don't believe in God, okay? Leave me alone."
Yeah.
The thing that made me cry, and I was already crying, who am I kidding? But I wrote this line down because this I thought was so beautiful. So, and this I thought was a really, really great scene because, okay, you have somebody who doesn't have a faith life and someone who has a very, very strong faith life, but it's like there's still a way to meet in the middle. And that to me was just what I thought the scene embodied. But the line from Sister Monica Joan that I love where she said, "The hands of the Almighty are so often to be found at the end of our own arms."
Yeah.
And I will tell you, like, whatever you believe or don't believe is like truly your business. And like, that is absolutely no one else's to say or judge or whatever like that. But I just thought That was just such a beautiful way of saying it. Like whatever Valerie believes, like what she does has like power and importance and value. And I just thought it was great. I just loved it.
Same. I wrote it down as well. I really loved it. And it was a brilliant scene, to be fair. And also it was the scene where she had the secreted milk as well, which made me laugh.
All right, girls, is there anything else we need to talk about?
Tom and Barbara.
Tom
Yeah.
and Barbara. Okay.
I just love Barbara. She's just so lovely. The way she was
I
in
know.
bed in a hat, and Tom was a bit distasteful. It was quite. It did make me laugh the way he was going on about the fact that the dead body was the warmest thing in the room, and she was like,
Yeah.
"That was very distasteful." And then she's just so lovely, but he's like, "Oh, we're starving here." And she's like, "We can't even begin to know starvation." Like she's just so earnest and lovely, and
I
in bed with
know.
a hat
Well,
and a penguin under a pillow.
I want to ask about this because Tom says about how much they're struggling. And I'm not saying that they're not struggling. Do you think Tom pays rent? Or do you think that house
He
is...
doesn't pay rent. Preachers don't pay rent. No.
So
No.
he lives there free. So those two are living in a flat house that they don't pay rent for. And then I know that with inequality in pay, Barbara won't be paid a lot, but Tom's got an income. Barbara's
Not
got
a lot,
full
though.
time.
Not a lot, and he's bearing in mind he's feeding the homeless people every night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
right.
Barbara's got a full-time wage.
Yeah.
I just think they're not paying rent.
Shut up, Tom. Well, to be
Yeah.
fair, that's what Barbara kind of says, though. She's like, I've got a penguin here, shut it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, Tom probably only gets like a very small stipend, I would imagine, for,
Yeah.
his work because he does get so much of it paid for. Like that's kind of built
Yeah.
in. But at the same time, like, yeah, they're both fine. Neither one of them is going hungry. I mean, Barbara had that cute hat on. She was wearing that Farrell sweater. Where do you think that Farrell sweater came from? You know what I mean? Like somebody had to buy that. She bought that, Like she bought her own engagement ring for God's sakes. Like they're fine. He just needs to like chill with that. I think he was looking for reasons not to go to Bristol and not to like figure out the next step. And he just, I don't know, he was kind of complaining. The best thing Tom did was when he finally decided he was going to stop being a sad sack and do the play. And then when he went in and he saw the hand within a hand within a hand, which to me was like, I was getting very like love is love is love is love vibes from that. But then he was like, it was such a beautiful vision of love. And I was like, okay, Tom. I mean, it was, honestly, he was right about that. But then finally, and then he was like, yeah, I think we should go to Birmingham.
Yeah.
Birmingham.
Yeah, and Barbara was like, yeah, great. That's what I thought we should do all along. So like I can like literally come back to my job anytime. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, then I guess we will go. And she's like,
Oh, when they
well, no
left, though, I was
like
really
you finally
sad.
got there.
I was
It
sad.
was.
Oh,
I liked Phyllis's advice to just pester and pester and pester.
Yeah. That's what I do. My husband will tell you that.
well, you know what I thought was so sweet? Because we had a listener say this some time ago. We haven't talked about it in a minute. But I really loved how the song that they sang in the show, say goodbye for the summer, darling.
Yeah,
like that.
Seal with
It
a
was
Kiss.
just such a beautiful song. Yeah, Sealed with a Kiss.
Do you know who covered that, Jen?
Who?
Jason Donovan from Neighbours. Anyway.
Of course he did. Of course he did. But it was
there's
just
two
the perfect
things we need to
song.
talk
Like,
about. There's two
What?
more things we need to talk about. We need to talk about the TV.
oh, they got the
Siemens Mission
TV
get
back.
everything.
I know.
Oh, good on him. But I'm glad that the Siemens Mission then notified the people who donated in the first place. So whoever's running that Siemens Mission, good on them.
Well done. Yeah.
The other thing I want to shout out about is the Christmas Radio Times, a tradition that we still do to this day in this household. We get the pen and we go through it. My daughter does it with us. Love it.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it a
I've
crossword
got
puzzle?
to do it.
No,
What
it's
is
the
it?
TV listings, TV and radio listings in a
What
magazine.
does that mean? Oh, just special for Christmas Day.
Yeah, well, no, just for the whole few
So
weeks.
it's an old-fashioned TV weekly magazine.
Oh, okay.
Which
We only ever
obviously
buy it at Christmas.
now
You guys
you
love
get...
an old-fashioned Christmas or anything tradition.
Yeah.
Well, now you just get the guide on the TV, but it's not the same because you can't plan out your days as well.
No, we get gold pens and black pens and silver pens.
Awesome.
They're really cool. Yeah. Shall we do heroes and zeros, ladies?
Yes, let's do it. We already know who your zero is going to be, Al.
Well, shall I go first then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you go first.
My zero is Sister Brunner from the toilet. What an absolute moron banging at porcelain and then basically breaking the whole toilet, the rest of the house. Like,
And frozen porcelain, which is even more brittle. By the way.
Honestly, I was just shouting at the telly, you moron. I wasn't, but in my head I was.
Yeah.
And my hero is going to be, do you know, I've not actually thought about this. How bad's that? I've just been there having a go at you and this and not Think about it. My hero is definitely not Julienne. It's going to be Barbara because she was amazing in A Crisis. And I just think she's absolutely fantastic. And she went straight to Val for moral and emotional support. And she's just so good at knowing exactly what to say. She was really good with Tom. She was really lovely with everyone else. I just think she's absolutely fantastic. And she'll be really sorely missed. And I love her.
Yeah. Do you want to go, Jen, or should I?
I'll go. So my 0 is gonna be Dr. Turner. Come on, can you just give your wife a break? You love her so much, but like at the same time, you're just sometimes like he just is so oblivious, and he's very like, oh, here's the other one that really annoyed me when in that scene where he was like, Sheila, you don't have to make us pancakes, you can just make us toast and jam. Like, like instead of making a hard breakfast, just make us a slightly easier breakfast. It's like,
you're doing too much, Sheila.
Yeah, like why don't you get up and put something in the toaster for once in your life? You know what I mean? Like you have a medical degree,
Put it in the toaster, Sheila.
You have a medical degree, but you literally can't figure out how to depress a button on a simple machine so that you can eat a breakfast. Like, oh my God. Like I love Dr. Turner, but gee whiz. And like, by the way, honorable mention 0 for my normal, like absolute fave, Fred, who literally mansplained to Violet, like I said earlier. Like just come on, my dude. But I did love Fred's makeup at the end when he was in the show. So he kind of redeemed himself there. All right. Hero. Selwyn was my hero. He's just the sweetest man. Like he saw this lonely, sad lady and he smiled at her and was just so kind. And then like a love grew from that. And then he wanted to like take on her baby that wasn't even his baby, which is, I mean, it's just a level of generosity and everything. And then just like his just like small and simple acts of kindness, like just giving that little baby the water bottle, you know what I mean? Like telling it not to, like telling Valerie, like, don't cover his face, like just, like putting his hand over her hand and the baby's hand when they were in the hospital. Everything he did was just so flippin' beautiful and like so sweet. And if only there were more Selwyns in this world.
Amen to that.
My 0 is going to be Percival.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a very good one.
I think I've wasted my 0, but carry on.
Well, yeah, I can't believe I blasted Dr. Turner for not making toast when that man was on the screen. Sorry.
I blasted Winifred about a toilet. Carry on.
I don't think I need to say more. And then my hero, even though we know nothing about him, he just seemed lovely in the 5-second scene that we saw him in, is Anthea's husband.
Yeah. Oh, Mr. Sweeting.
Yeah.
Literally named for who he is.
Also, shout out to Anthea for how far she's turned her life around. And
I know. And and no matter what her personal history was, being a foster mother to over 30 children, amazing. That is truly heaven sent right there. So yeah. Good choice, Bex.
Now, next week, are we doing the recap?
Yes.
Next week, we're doing recaps.
That'll be mine. I have lots of quotes saved, so I just have to go through and pick out which ones are going to be in
amazing. Then the week after that, we are going to do the listeners special. Yeah. So if you've got any
PB&J time.
Yeah, any questions you want to say, anything you want to just tell us, say to us, any ideas you've got for us, anything at all, please get in contact. We have got the email, which is recallthemidwife@gmail.com. We've got our Instagram, Facebook, Threads, X, which was Twitter. Just get in contact with us anyway. Ask us a load of stuff. But we are trying peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and Fluffernutter. My 6-year-old daughter is joining us for it because she is absolutely determined. She's bursting with excitement about it.
Yeah.
Bex has been told she can have.
It's been confirmed to me I have toasted bread.
I'm not going to do it though. I'm going to do it properly traditional because I'm not a shirker like you. So
I just think it'll be very, very cloying.
Yeah, I do, but that's the point. We need to try it, don't we? Maybe you should try too.
I'll do both. I'm going to get a Warburton's toasty loaf.
Yeah, there you go. That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it.
So yes, please listen next week, and we hope you enjoyed it. And subscribe and like, and don't leave us awful things. Just leave us.
But also,
by the way,
we should say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, because this episode is going to air on Christmas Eve, isn't that right?
Yes, it is. So Merry Christmas, everyone. Yeah. And if you're listening to this in June, bit weird. But if you're listening to this when it actually comes out, Merry Christmas.
Or if you're listening to it in a Christmas of years in the future that hasn't even happened yet, but it just happens to coincide with the Christmas listing time, then that's wonderful as well.
And we really hope your Christmas is a lot happier than the Percivals and Selwyn and Linda's. So theirs actually did turn out lovely and happy in the end, though.
Yeah,
If a
Selwyn and
bit
I
dramatic.
will
we
say
hope that our
Christmas-
listeners have a Barbara and Tom or a Nuns of Nonnatus House or a Dr. Turner and Sheila type of a Christmas.
But a lot warmer.
And I do have to say, Christmas is quite overrated at times. So shout out to anyone who's not loving it.
Well, yeah, if the holidays aren't good for
Well,
you, then that's
hang on.
then
They will be loving it, Bex, because they're listening to us. So
Yeah, they.
hello, what better way to spend your time?
exactly.
On that note, thank you so much for listening, and we shall see you next week.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.